Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're grabbing a serious stack of sources, really looking at the timeless guides to personal finance and saving. We want to give you a shortcut to, financial sanity, security, and frankly, real freedom.
Yeah.
Our mission is pretty simple. Pull out the hard truths, the proven strategies you need to build a life on your terms. We're trying to cut through all the noise, the market trends, and get straight to principles that work no matter when you're listening.
And what's really fascinating when you look across all this financial wisdom is that the core message, well, it hasn't really changed much. Generations have known this stuff. Personal finance, fundamentally, it isn't some super complex accounting exercise. It's more like an art. The art of hitting your life goals through disciplined execution.
Okay.
It means using things like budgeting, saving, smart investing, controlling debt, using them as tools really to build the life you actually want. And the big insight here, the one that just keeps coming up, is that the folks who really succeed financially, they're not usually the ones making these huge, complicated moves. It's the small stuff, the boring stuff, the utterly consistent actions day in, day out. That's what compounds into massive life-changing results.
I like that focus. Consistency over complexity makes it feel, achievable, doesn't it?
Definitely.
So, okay, if we're starting today, building that financial fortress, the source material seems clear. We need a foundation, a starting point. Where exactly do we begin?
You start with a reality check. Simple as that. It's what we call the financial snapshot. I mean, you just can't navigate a journey if you don't know your starting point, right?
Makes sense.
So the first step is listing everything. And I mean everything. All your income sources, every single expense, all your assets, your house, your car, cash, investments, and then all your liabilities. That's all your debt. Mortgages, loans, credit cards. Once you've got those lists down, you calculate two key numbers. First, your net worth. That's just assets minus liabilities. Gives you a sense of your overall financial health. And second, your monthly cash flow. Income minus all those outflows. Tells you if you're living within your means each month.
Okay, that snapshot sounds completely necessary. But I can imagine for a lot of people, especially if maybe they're carrying quite a bit of debt, it might feel like the financial version of stepping on the scale after the holidays. It can be pretty scary to look at the hard truth, right?
Oh, absolutely. It can be daunting, but it's non-negotiable if you're serious. The good news is the practical application is simple. Just use a basic spreadsheet or one of the many finance apps out there and commit to updating the snapshot, say, at least quarterly. Think of it like your car's dashboard for your money. Without it, you're basically flying blind. You end up making emotional decisions, not informed ones.
Right. Flying blind is not where you want to be with money.
Yeah.
Okay, so once we know where we are, the snapshot's done, we need direction. Now, the source has really hammered this point, just saying, I want to save more money. That's not good enough, is it?
Not even close.
Why is ambiguity such a killer for financial plans?
Because ambiguity lets inertia win. If a goal isn't specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, the SMART framework, it's just a wish. It's not a plan. The sources had a great example. Don't just say, I want to save more. You need to say something like, I will save $3,000 for emergencies in the next 6 months by setting up an automatic transfer of $500 each month. See the difference?
Yeah, completely. It forces action.
Exactly. It dictates behavior. And that leads us straight into the absolute first priority the sources mention, the emergency fund. Before you even think about investing a dime elsewhere, you must build up 3 to 6 months worth of essential living expenses. Keep it saved in a liquid account.
Okay, and why is that buffer so critical?
Because life happens. Job loss, medical bills, car repairs. This fund protects your entire financial plan from getting completely derailed by the unexpected. It's your safety net.
And there's a small but important detail in the sources about where to keep this money. Why does it have to be so liquid? Why not just say, stick it in a brokerage account if it might earn a bit more?
Because the purpose of this fund is immediate access without risk. Liquidity is everything here. You might need that cash tomorrow, not next week after selling some stocks. That's why the standard recommendation is a high-yield savings account, an HYSA. It keeps the money totally safe, totally accessible, but it allows that safety net to still grow a little bit. Passively. Usually much better interest than your regular checking account.
Got it. Safety first.
It's that balance, right? Safety and accessibility first, a little bit of growth second.
Okay, so we've got the map, the snapshot, and the compass, the SMART goals. But the sources suggest the really tough part isn't the planning. It's actually steering the ship, mastering control day to day. The budget often gets a bad rap like it's a cage. But the sources frame it differently, more like a tool to make sure your spending lines up with what you actually care about. So what are the most effective budgeting frameworks we found?
Yeah, the cage idea is a common misconception. It's really about empowerment. The sources highlighted three popular paths to get control, and they kind of suit different personalities. First, probably the most flexible one, is the 50-30-20 rule. Simple idea. 50% of your after-tax income goes to needs housing, food, utilities. 30% goes to want standing out, hobbies, entertainment. And the crucial 20% goes to savings and debt payoff.
Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. Needs, wants, savings.
It is. And you can adjust the percentages slightly if needed, maybe 6 over 30, 10 if things are tight. The point is the structure. Then there's the second method, which is definitely the most rigorous, zero-based budgeting, or ZBB.
Right, I've heard of this one. Sounds intense.
It is. With ZBB, you assign every single dollar you earn a specific job. Rent gets this much, groceries get that much, savings gets this amount, even fun money gets allocated. You keep going until your income minus all your planned expenses equals zero.
Wow. That demands extreme awareness, doesn't it? But what's the potential downside the sources warned about? Is there a risk of burnout or decision fatigue with that much detail?
Absolutely. That's the main caution. It requires serious dedication, constant tracking. It's not for everyone, which is why the third method is often a great alternative, especially for people who find daily tracking overwhelming. Pay yourself first.
The classic.
Classic for a reason. You basically treat your savings goal, ideally aiming for 10% to 20% of your income like it's your most important bill. Set up an automatic transfer to your savings or investment account right after payday. Then you just live on what's left. It removes the temptation, removes the decision fatigue. You prioritize savings by making it automatic.
That's a really neat way to frame the different psychological approaches. Okay, let's move into some actionable steps for everyday saving. The sources stressed consistency over perfection here, right?
Totally. It's not about never making a mistake. It's about the overall trend.
So let's talk high impact tips. Maybe start with some of those psychological tricks for beating impulse spending. The impulse busters, as you called them earlier.
Right, the impulse busters. They mostly work by creating friction, making it harder to spend mindlessly. A really powerful one is the 30-day rule. See something non-essential you want. Don't buy it immediately. Write it down. Wait 30 days. If you still genuinely want it after a month, then okay, consider buying it. Usually the urge just fades.
Let's the emotional heat cool off. I like that.
Exactly. Another simple trick. Remove your saved credit card details from online shopping sites. That little bit of effort needed to find your card and type in the numbers. It forces a pause, makes you think, do I really need this?
Breaks the automatic click to buy habit.
Precisely. And then there's the silent money leak subscriptions. Audit your bank and credit card statements regularly, maybe quarterly. Cancel anything you're not using. It's amazing how many people find they're paying $10, $15, $20 a month for apps or services they totally forgot about.
Those little amounts add up fast. Okay, beyond those daily tactics, the sources mentioned some more advanced strategies. One had a really interesting name, revenge saving. What's that about?
Sounds aggressive. It kind of is, but in a good way. Revenge saving is less a financial formula and more a psychological strategy. It means when you get a windfall, maybe a work bonus, a decent tax refund, even an inheritance, instead of just spending it, you aggressively save a huge chunk of it, maybe 50%, maybe even 100%. You're channeling maybe some frustration or aggression about past debts or financial struggles into making massive progress now. You're taking revenge on your past financial situation by saving hard.
So using a positive event to sort of slingshot yourself forward financially.
Exactly. It's about leveraging that moment, that influx of cash, to make a significant leap. And of course, probably the single most important advanced strategy mentioned across the board is maximizing your use of tax-advantaged accounts.
Like 401ks or IRAs.
Yes, especially making sure you contribute enough to get the full employer match in your 401k if you have one. The sources were unanimous on this. That match is literally free money. It's an instant return on your investment, plus it compounds tax deferred. Never, ever leave that free money on the table.
That's a huge point. Free money is hard to beat. Okay, let's shift gears a bit into section 3. Personal finance seems to be just riddled with myths and misconceptions that really hold people back.
Oh, definitely.
We need to bust some of those. Let's start with the ones around compounding, because that seems foundational.
Right. The biggest one is probably psychological. It's myth number 1. Small savings aren't worth the effort. People think, what's saving $5 going to do? But the truth, which kind of defies our desire for instant results, is that compounding is incredibly powerful over time. Saving just $5 a day If it earns a modest 7% average annual return, that grows to over $75,000 in 40 years.
Wow.
The real value isn't the $5 today, it's building the habit of consistent saving. That habit is priceless.
And then there's the age-old excuse, the retirement saving myth,
Hmm.
the one that relies on ignoring the magic of time.
Yeah, myth number 2. I'm too young to worry about saving for retirement. Or maybe I'll start when I earn more. The reality here is honestly kind of brutal, but crucial to understand. Compounding needs time to work its magic. Let's say you start saving $200 a month at age 25. By age 65, assuming that 7% return, you could have around $1 million.
Okay, impressive.
But if you delay starting that same $200 monthly saving until you're 35, just 10 years later, you'd end up with roughly half that amount by 65. Maybe $500,000.
Ouch. Half the result from just a 10-year delay.
Exactly. Time is the one multiplier in the compounding equation that you can never, ever get back once it's gone. Starting early is paramount.
Okay, super clear. Let's tackle the credit card myths next. Why do so many people still seem to believe that carrying a balance on their credit card is somehow good for their credit score?
It's such a persistent and damaging myth. So, myth. Carrying a credit balance boosts your score. Truth. It absolutely does not. In fact, it usually hurts your score because it increases your credit utilization ratio, how much debt you have compared to your credit limit. Lenders see high utilization as risky.
And you're paying interest for the privilege of hurting your score.
Precisely. The source material is very clear here. High interest debt is the enemy, not the credit card itself. If you use the card responsibly, meaning you pay the balance in full every single month before the due date, then credit cards are actually powerful tools. They offer rewards, purchase protections, fraud protection, things debit cards often don't. And crucially, responsible use builds a positive credit history, which you do need for things like mortgages or car loans down the line. The goal is building history, not carrying debt.
Right. Use the tool, don't let the tool use you via interest.
Couldn't have said it better. Then there's the bigger picture myth about what actually constitutes wealth.
Yeah, the credit score obsession.
Exactly. Myth. Your credit score is everything. Truth. Look, your FICO score is important, but it's just a debt metric. It basically measures how good you are at borrowing money and paying it back. It doesn't measure your actual wealth.
So a high score doesn't mean you're rich.
Not at all. You could have an 800 credit score and be drowning in debt. Actual wealth comes from what you own minus what you owe. It comes from saving and, crucially, investing. And the sources had a really powerful statistic on this. Something like 80% of millionaires in many studies are self-made. They didn't inherit it. They built their wealth through discipline, consistent saving, and investing over time, not by chasing a perfect credit score.
That really shifts the focus, doesn't it? From borrowing well to actually accumulating assets.
It's a fundamental shift.
So, okay, if we accept that investing is key, that it beats just saving alone because of compounding, what's the core non-negotiable rule for investing for the long term according to the sources?
One word: diversification. You absolutely have to spread your risk. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. The broad consensus in the materials we looked at is to mix different types of assets, primarily stocks and bonds. And for most people, the easiest, most effective way to do this is through low-cost index funds or exchange-traded funds, ETF.
Keeps costs down, gives you broad market exposure.
Exactly. Avoids trying to pick individual winners, which is incredibly hard. This approach ties into that long-term rule of thumb we saw. Aim to save at least 15% of your pre-tax income consistently for retirement. And try to hit that important early benchmark, having roughly 1 times your annual salary saved by the time you hit age 30.
Okay, that 1x salary by 30 gives us a concrete, measurable target. Ties back perfectly to the SMART goals we talked about earlier.
It does. It provides a clear milestone.
All right, let's try and tie all these threads together now in section 4. If we zoom out from the daily tactics, the budgeting apps, the specific investments, what are the truly eternal laws of building wealth? The timeless principles that just don't change.
Yeah, looking across everything, you can really boil it down to maybe 4 core evergreen principles. Number 1, and it sounds cliche, but it's foundational: live below your means, spend less than you earn, period. The sources really emphasize that the gap between your income and your spending, that's your wealth building engine. That gap is where your financial freedom is actually born.
The accelerator, as you put it.
Exactly. Number 2, time is your greatest ally. We hit this with compounding. Start early. The longer your money has to grow, the less heavy lifting you have to do yourself. Let time do the work.
Makes sense. Number 3.
Focus intensely on what you can actually control. You can't control stock market swings. You can't control inflation perfectly. You can't control global economic events. Worrying about that stuff is wasted energy. What can you control? Your spending habits, your savings rate, how much debt you take on, where you choose to invest within your diversification strategy. Focus all your energy and effort there.
Right. Control the controllables. And the final principle, this one felt maybe less tangible, more psychological, but just as powerful.
Absolutely. It's cultivate gratitude over greed. Find contentment with what you have. This isn't about never wanting nice things, but it's about curbing that endless desire for more, that impulse buying driven by comparison or wanting the next shiny object. True wealth, the sources suggest, isn't just about the number in your bank account. It's about peace of mind, security, freedom. Contentment helps you keep your spending in check naturally, which widens that all-important gap.
Wealth is peace, not just stuff. I like that. So, okay, these principles are great, but how do we actually embed them into our lives so they stick? How do we avoid just knowing this stuff and then sliding back into old habits onto financial autopilot?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Implementation. The key seems to be building simple, frequent checkpoints into your routine. Make it automatic, make it easy, like on a daily basis. Maybe just track one single expense category you tend to overspend on. Or ask yourself before one non-essential purchase, does this align with my bigger goals? Just one small thing.
Okay, manageable.
Weekly. Take 15-20 minutes to review your budget or spending plan, see where you stand, and maybe automate one small transfer to savings or towards a debt. Just keep the momentum going. And then yearly. Do a full financial checkup, recalculate your net worth, see the progress, revisit those SMART goals. Are they still relevant? Do they need adjusting? Celebrate the wins, course correct where needed.
Daily, weekly, yearly check-ins. Keeps it top of mind.
Exactly. And underpinning all of this is the mindset shift we talked about. You have to consciously move away from those limiting beliefs, those fatalistic thoughts like, oh, I'll just always be broke, or I'm just bad with money. You have to replace that with a focus on action. What's the next step I can take? Budgeting, finding ways to earn more, automating savings, paying down debt. Focus on the actions you can take to actively break whatever cycle you might feel stuck in.
That feels really empowering. It's not about fate, it's about action and consistency. The source has really hammered that home. Consistency is the true differentiator. Doesn't matter what the market's doing this week or what the hot new financial app is. These core principles are evergreen.
They really are. The tools might change, the economy will fluctuate, but human behavior around money and the basic math of compounding, those things are constant. The ability to just consistently execute these simple, known principles, that's what separates the people who build wealth from those who just spin their wheels.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful. To wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you, our listener, with a practical challenge pulled straight from the source materials. It's called Simulate Retirement. For 1 year, or maybe start with a month or a quarter, if a year feels too daunting, challenge yourself to live on, say, 70% or 80% of your current income.
Yeah, put the rest into savings or debt paydown.
Exactly. Doing this forces you to really understand your true needs versus wants. It'll likely help you dramatically cut expenses you didn't even realize were optional, and it builds incredible financial resilience and confidence.
It's a powerful exercise.
And finally, just one last provocative thought for you to chew on, building on that millionaire statistic. If roughly 80% of millionaires are self-made, primarily through discipline and consistent habits, what is the one single habit you could start implementing, maybe even today, to put yourself on that path? We'll leave you with that question to ponder. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.